afternoon. Happy Sunday, happy weekend. And that time is here. Well, actually, to be technical, it began earlier this week when the Kansas City Chiefs reigned victorious over the Baltimore Ravens, which happens to be in my hometown, with the final score 27-20. But today we're not going to talk about that. We're going to go over quickly my picks, and any and everyone who has followed me knows that I am an avid football fan, and my team, let it be known to those of you who are new, my team is America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. Now, they don't play until the afternoon, so I'm not really concerned or rushing with the first half, but to be fair to those who represent and love the teams who are playing in the early games, it's only fair. So without further delay, these are my picks. First up, we have the terrible, towel-waving Pittsburgh Steelers, who will face the dusty Atlanta Falcons. And Atlanta, you are sorry for saying this, Atlanta listeners and fans, but you've been dusty in many ways, on and off the field. That being said, my selection for today's game will be the Pittsburgh Steelers. I predict, a low-scoring game. Final score, I'll say Pittsburgh 10, Atlanta 3. And Atlanta, I'm being extremely generous. Hey Foxy's friends, how are you? Yes, let's go Cowboys. Them boys. And I don't want to hear from a certain individual who has clowned me for the last 3 years, asking how many times have we made it. And yes, I know we were so close last year, but as Brandy, the R&B singer Brandy, sings, almost doesn't count. So I don't really want to be reminded of last year. I'm just getting over that a season later, so let's not do that. Hi there, Ann Sky. How are you? Happy Sunday. Happy weekend. Next up, we have the Arizona Cardinals and the Buffalo Bills. The Bills actually came out and had a very good season last year. The Arizona Cardinals, on the other hand, did not, but I'm going to go ahead and get in front of this before someone reminds me. The Cardinals, even with their dismal record, happened to defeat my boys, the Dallas Cowboys, last year. So let me quickly get past that before someone brings that up. Again, I predict that the Buffalo Bills will pull this out. Final score, I'm going to say 17-0. Sorry, Arizona fans, I can't give you any points on this one. Again, these are just my predictions. Thank you, Anns. Thank you so much. Next, we have the Tennessee Titans against the Chicago Bears. Now remember, football fans, Chicago. Chicago also started out slow and dismal in the very, very beginning. However, towards the end, they started to put some wins on the board. That said, I'm going to go out on a limb and predict a Bears win over the Titans. I am going to say I'm going to give the Bears a good push, 20-10. Again, my prediction will be for the Chicago Bears. Final score 20-10. Next, thank you, Ans. Appreciate it. And appreciate everyone that may be listening or who will catch the replay. Next up, we have the New England Patriots, or the Pats, as many people call them, facing the Cincinnati Bengals. New England, that is a favorite of many, not mine. However, for today, I will predict a Patriots win. I think this may be, and again, this is just my opinion, a pretty low scoring game, so I'm going to predict Patriots 14 and the Bengals 7. Again, final score prediction, the Patriots 14, Bengals 7. Next, the Houston Texans and the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts went backwards and forth last season. Houston, to me, their season was so I am going today choose the Indianapolis Colts with extremely low scoring game. I'm going to give Indianapolis 3 and Houston 0. Again, final score. So again, these are just my scores. Indianapolis 3, Houston 0. Next, we have the Miami Dolphins, which is another fan favorite, facing the Jacksonville Jaguars. Miami, I am going to go ahead and give you 21 and Jacksonville 10. Final score again, 21-10. Again, these are just my predictions. Next, we have the Carolina Panthers, who, for those of you remember last season, stayed on the bottom, and I do mean that literally, against the New Orleans Saints, and much to my chagrin already, not even well into the first quarter, New Orleans Saints is up 7-0 already over Carolina. Oh no. Hey there, Honcho. First time seeing you here, but welcome. This is my thing, and usually I am mild-mannered and on the serious side, but during this season, you will definitely see me acting a fool. So Honcho says, let's go Rams. Okay. We have a Rams fan in the house. Do we have any other Rams fans in the house? Is there a Ram? Is there a Ram in the house tonight other than Honcho Gaming? If so, please let your presence be known. As I said, Carolina stayed on the bottom. Is already looking at a loss already, and I think that's going to be my first and only blowout for today's predictions. I predict that the New Orleans Saints will win, final score being, let me give a good score, 35-0. Again, the New Orleans Saints, and these are just my picks and predictions over Carolina. 35-0. Yes, Honcho. Blessings to everyone. And Anne is speaking to you. Next, and I know someone definitely is listening. I know two people that are listening to this. And I'm going to be nice to you because you did actually show promise. And this is something that I said last season. The breakout teams were, there were a few, but the ones I saw were the Detroit Lions and the New York Giants. And my prediction today, even though it pains me to say this, the New York Giants. Thank you, I will be too, momentarily, Honcho. Even though it pains me to have to say this, New York Giants, who are meeting the Minnesota Vikings. I'm going to go ahead. Oh no, D. Shep is in the house. All right, we have another Cowboys fan. Yes, I love it. I love the energy. Yes, indeed, D. Shep. Cowboys Nation is in the house. And as I was saying, all of a sudden, my throat is really dry and parched. But I'm going to have to predict that the New York Giants will win this game. I don't know why this happened to me all of a sudden. I don't know, maybe, is it something about New York that did this? Excuse me. But I'm going to predict the New York Giants will win this game. Final score 10-0. Again, really parched right now. The New York Giants. Final score 10 over the Vikings 0. Okay, now that I'm finished with that, because I am not a Giants fan, but I had to recognize them. Next up we have the Denver Broncos. And we're going into the 4 o'clock, which to me is going to be the important games. And yes, hey to you, D. Shep again. And salute to you. Thank you for coming by. Make sure you all are giving this a big thumbs up if you would be so kind. And 4 o'clock games, we have the Las Vegas Raiders against the Los Angeles Chargers. This might be a close game, who knows? But my prediction will be the Raiders 10 and the Chargers 7. Again, my prediction, the Raiders 10 and the Chargers 7. Then we're going to head to Denver, who will meet the Seattle Seahawks. Denver, again, had its glimpses last season, but they didn't make the mark. And I have a lot of friends, or I'll say associates, who are Broncos fans. So that really means nothing to me. I actually, for today's picks, I believe Seattle will actually come out the victor, and I am going to give them 10. And I know a lot of these are low scoring games, but sometimes the very first ones are like that. Again, these are just my predictions. I may need time to warm up. Who knows? But I'm going to give Seattle 10 and Denver 7. Again, Seattle 10, Denver 7. Next, Ann Honcho is speaking to D. Shep, and Ann is still hanging in there. D. Shep says, so far, we're L sync. I don't understand what that means. hopefully you can explain it so I am not incorrect in what I'm, in sync. Absolutely. But we need to make it all the way, D-Shep. Next, we have my team, your team, the America's team, Dallas Cowboys, who will meet, as some people thought, the Cleveland Browns were going to take it all the way last season. Of course, they did not. But who knows what will happen this season? I do not believe the Cleveland Browns will defeat the Cowboys today. In fact, I believe this might be a higher scoring game. And I'm going to predict the Cowboys over the Browns. Final score, 21-17. And I believe that the score will be determined in the fourth quarter. Yes, D-Shep, I understand that. I saw someone mention that he signed a hefty contract. And I saw a couple of stories earlier, and I'm not really going to go into the details right now, but there were people speaking about his age, saying that he's still not he's not a quote unquote young quarterback anymore. Well, Brady and a couple others weren't either, but they still were able to get the job done. You are as good as your team, and keep in mind this is a team, not individuals. Even though a lot of the individuals are the ones highlighted, you have to come together as a team. Now, my issue, I guess I shouldn't have teased about the Giants earlier, because now I am coughing for real. I was playing earlier, but I'm serious now. The problem that I have with Dak Prescott, and I've said this before, is his passing game. Every time, well, not every time, but many times when he has that ball in his hand, and if his O-line is not strong, that concerns me. We've lost many games. We've been the recipients of many pick sixes because of that. So unless he has improved considerably and significantly in his passing game, I'm going to be concerned. As a matter of fact, I may have to peep out under the covers when he's on the field passing, but we'll see. I'll know within the first 10 minutes how I'm going to react, and if I start to get butterflies in my stomach, then we might have some problems. Let me see what D-Shep has said. Brady and Brett Favre. Cheesehead Brett Favre. Now that is when I was a huge Green Bay fan. But Brett Favre, again, I'm not going to go into that. I covered that earlier last year. Seems though he got himself into some trouble, some legal issues with alleged fraud. But that's another story. But let's see what D-Shep is saying. Dak wasn't originally a pocket quarterback, and they changed his playing style. He is also prone to throwing floaters. Now, it is funny that you say that, because in my opinion, and I'll speak on this in a moment, but matter of fact, let me star that, so I'll use that as a talking point. Hey there, Lucy Warren's World. How are you? Happy Sunday, happy weekend. Next, Next, and I don't really care about these last two for the 4 o'clock hour. And it's sad because I am actually in Washington, D.C., and I cannot stand the Redskins slash Washington football team, now known as the Washington Commanders, and they meet the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Off the rip, Tampa Bay 14, Commanders 0. I say that because, and those of you that watch the Commanders, ever since 2012, the year. Hey there, misunderstood. How are you? Happy Sunday. Talking football, and this is a different side of me that many people don't get a chance to see, but I act extremely crazy and goofy, so don't mind that. But welcome. Hopefully you are having a wonderful Sunday and a wonderful weekend. It is picture perfect. And I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. I'm not sure if you are a football fan. If so, you can put your name of the team that you enjoy in the chat. And again, welcome and thank you so much for stopping by. Those of you that are in the DC area or have watched the Washington Commanders, ever since 2012, the year that RG3, or Robert Griffin III, or as many called him, Black Jesus, came on the scene, he actually was pivotal in turning that team, that dismal team, around. But as we watched, and this is indicative of many of the quarterbacks, and I'll go through a few of them just so you all know. I know what I'm talking about, and I know a little bit of sports. They've unalived a lot of quarterback careers there. Let me start with Gus Frerotte, Heath Shuler. I'm not going to say Kirk Cousins because he's actually doing well. I think that was a contract dispute that he had. But RG3 ended up having a serious injury. And I believe, and I've said this before, and this is when I stopped following them back after 2012, in the year of Coach Gruden, which I cannot stand. I've never liked his Flintstone head and never will. I believe his style of play he wanted to incorporate for RG3 did not work. And after his injury, in my opinion, I believe his confidence went down and he was never the same. And that team, to me, never gelled again. And no matter how many chances they had to win, I mean, they, in my opinion, gave games away. They revamped the front office, but no matter what they have tried, they brought in new talent. They still cannot get back what they had in the 80s. And those that listen to B. Mitch or Brian Mitchell and Rick Doc Walker, they are commentators for the Commanders. They get angry and extremely passionate when they, like many of the fans, and it's sad because they have spent an exorbitant amount of money on trying to revamp the team, the stadium, which there have been rumors that it will move. If you still have issues with the strength of your team, it doesn't matter where you move. You can move to Timbuktu. You're still going to have the same result. So I'm going to go back to D. Shep's comment where he said that Dak wasn't originally a pocket quarterback. They changed his playing style. And that is what I was speaking about as far as RG3. I believe that they tried to change or modify his style of play from where he was a quarterback at Baylor. And it just didn't work. And I also believe that he did not have the protection that he needed. He suffered many hits, and he appears to be okay right now. And keeping in mind, a lot of these younger players, a lot of these players, period, after a time, and you can all do your research on this, when you suffer many hits, a lot of these players end up having issues when they get older. One of the main concerns a lot of people are looking into, and there was actually a documentary on this, is CTE. So it's one thing with these ACL injuries and broken bones or bruised ribs, but when you get injuries, consistent injuries to your head, and then you have these quote unquote dirty players, these helmet to helmet contact, that's when it's really ugly and scary. And yes, I know this is a contact sport. However, I'm just going to say this, and with the face mask, those are not necessary. If you truly have talent and you believe in sportsmanship, you do not need to do that. So I believe if these teams can, if the injuries, and we hope that no one is injured, but in all sports there's always an injury. If those can be minimized and avoided, then we should see a good season. And the last game on tap will be the night game. And I'll probably in bed by then, but it'll be the Los Angeles Rams and the Detroit Lions. Again, Detroit was a team that broke out of nowhere, and they were a team to be reckoned with last year, and I believe that they have kept the momentum and will come out victorious. Final score, my pick will be Detroit 21 over the Rams 10. Again, 21 Lions, Rams 10. Those are my picks for Sunday. And let me see what D. Shep says really quickly. I remember when, oh yes, almost forgot about Doug Williams. He's been, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but pretty much a non-factor as well. I think he is a figurehead, and I'm not going to go into further detail with that. So, D. Shep says, I remember when they brought Doug Williams out of retirement. He won them that Super Bowl that year and cut him the next year. I went to that Super Bowl parade, D. Shep, and I froze my you know what off. But that was a year, that season. Whew, if they could get those players back, I'm talking about Art Monk, I'm talking about Dexter, Manley, the Fun Bunch, B. Mitch. Who else was there? How can I forget 44, Rigo? There's so many. Russ Grimm. You had the Hogs. Those that were true when they were called Redskin fans back then. Darryl Green. Oh my God. Special teams extraordinaire. Hey there, Pick and Choose TV. I'm up here talking sports. Can you believe it? But yes. And doing quite well, but good to see you. We need to, when or if you have time, do a little chit chat outside of this. But this is actually a different side of me, a goofy side of me, because I love sports. But yes, D. Shep, if you remember, then those boys could not be stopped. Their special teams was unbelievable. Even, and people dogged him out, Desmond Howard at one point. They were knocking them out, and then they had the great, and I hate to bring his name up, and it was a devastating loss to not only the team but the area, when we lost Sean Taylor. And well, most people should know that story, but it was a tragic loss that brought down the momentum as well. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Absolutely. And thank you, Benoit Vlog. I'm sorry for not recognizing you. Thank you, Pick and Choose. Yes, I love my sports. And I mean, some women pretend that they like sports to snag some of you gents, but I actually do enjoy sports, and I know a little bit. But you're right, D. Shep. They did. And not only that, to me, the GOAT of the former Redskins, the former National Football Team, I don't know who in the world came up with that, and now they're the Commanders. Whoever came up with that name really needs to go. But the GOAT was, I'm going to give you all a guess. He was mild-mannered, but played no games. And I'll see if any of you can remember the head coach. Well, one of the head coaches, because they've gone through quarterbacks almost at the same pace as head coaches. I don't even know if he would ever want to come back. Any guesses? I'll see how good you are. And please don't anyone say Sonny Jurgensen. I'm waiting on D. Shep. All right, I'll give you the answer. Joe Gibbs. Joe Gibbs was the GOAT. Under his regime, they were unstoppable. And yes, Joe Theismann was a huge loss to the Raiders. Absolutely. So they had every ingredient needed. And it's unfortunate to see that legacy, in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, coming from a female point of view. It's really sad to see such a legacy plummet to where they are today. And keep in mind, and this is another example that I know a little bit, just a little bit. Contracts and the money that some of these players are receiving today were not the same as they were in the 80s. And that's when that team was, to me, its strongest. Well, one of the strongest times. Those teams, those players played with heart. And at that time, I wasn't a Cowboys fan. But I remember, and I believe the number that he donned was 21. Emmitt Smith, I might be wrong with that, but he played. Emmitt Smith, when he was with the Cowboys, played with broken ribs. Now, I don't mean any shots to any of these players now, but some of these young players are prima donnas in small injuries. They don't wanna play. They will sit on the bench in a minute. So Emmitt Smith, again, I don't know if he was 21, 22. He was something. G-Shep says, autocorrect, sucks. Theismann played under Gibbs. He did play under Gibbs, and he was hurt. Theismann suffered a really, really nasty injury. Many teams suffered injuries. A lot of players, in my opinion, in Washington were not treated correctly. Brian Mitchell, to me, for those of you that remember, he was and still is extremely loyal, but I believe he went to the Eagles for a short period of time and he returned. G-Shep says, very impressed with your football knowledge. Well, thank you. See, I'm not a one-trick pony at all. I know a little about, put it this way, things that I'm passionate about, I pay attention to, I watch, I engage, and I speak about it. And I love it. So yes. So for those of you who wonder, well, how can you be in Washington, D.C. and you root for the Cowboys? It's because of the aforementioned things. There are a lot of politics involved. There are a lot of people, okay, I'll put it this way, the same way a lot of people question Jerry Jones, and I'm not going to get into race or anything like that. Because if you want to go there, if you truly want to go there, and I'm not, because I want to watch the games, but you can say the same thing if you talk about Daniel Snyder here in D.C. and how long it took for the name to be changed from the Redskins. So some of you all may want to do a little bit of history when it comes to that. Look at some of the roster changes and how some contracts were structured for some players. If you want to talk about certain things, look at the quarterbacks. Look at the front office changes. So if you want to have that conversation, we can do that. But just make sure you're aware of all of the facts and the players. And keep in mind, Daniel Snyder is extremely wealthy and powerful. And for those of you who may not know, he owns a lot of the media outlets here. So if you are connected to that team and if you say anything that is too much left, you'll be without a job. Simple and plain. So, that is my kickoff picks for this Sunday. Everyone enjoy. And I may be back. After 4. It really depends on the first 15 minutes after the kickoff of the Cowboys game. If I go MIA, don't question. Don't ask my neighbor. Just know there is a reason. So with that, everyone, enjoy the remainder of your Sunday. Thank you all for those that tuned in and engaged, and those that may catch the replay. And another thing, and it's really, why are you laughing, D-Shep, about don't ask my neighbor? You know that just brought me back to that old song, come to me, don't ask my neighbor. And no, I cannot sing. And I'm not ashamed to say it, but those of you that are doing tailgates, be careful that you don't over enjoy. Nightbot may have got you. I didn't do that, D-Shep, I promise. Nightbot and I need to have a offline or behind the scenes conversation, because he's been really messing with people that have come in here. Some people I haven't even seen because of Nightbot. I think Nightbot is a blocker. And you can take that how you wish. But yes, be careful with your tailgates, people. This is a fun time for many, but don't overdo it. Sorry, D-Shep. I see your comment. I can't get it posted though, because Nightbot is just Nightbot. Okay, there you go. But as I was saying, don't overdo it. Enjoy, but don't overdo it. We have holidays coming up, and again, enjoy, but don't overdo it. I know people enjoy their hot dogs and their hamburgers and their ribs and their chicken and their pizza and their sodas and their beer and all of those things. Again, enjoy, even though I'm a vegan and I don't indulge in those. I will, though, indulge in some chocolate every now and again. As a matter of fact, I'm going to sneak out and get some iced coffee before the Dallas game. I think I'm going to need a boost of caffeine, and that's probably not going to be good, but I'll be getting my walk on. I already had my yogurt earlier. I had my spinach earlier, and my ginger water. That's actually good. Sometimes I'll eat raw ginger, but I'm now addicted to ginger water. It's really good, and sometimes I'll squeeze a little bit of lime in it to make it alkaline. And yeah, I'm trying to really do my best as possible to get as healthy as I can. I've shed a few more pounds, but this Dunlap, this little tire around my belly, it's been hanging on for a long time. It just doesn't want to let go. It's like an obsessed ex. It just will not go. It'll get smaller, but it just won't go all the way. And that's where the exercise and the crunches comes in. D-Shep says when they built the Raiders, stadium, they took the fun out of football by not allotting any space for tailgating. Well, they have actually, in my opinion, did that with the Commanders as well. They built this huge, awesome stadium. However, it's expensive. There's a shuttle service for fans to get to the stadium, but that's 20, 25, sometimes $30. And if you park in the alternate parking lot, that's $20 or $25, and you still have almost a mile to walk. And don't forget the cost of the concessions and anything else you choose to purchase. And not only that, you have to look at ticket sales. There were a lot of people bamboozled into thinking that the stadium at the Commanders, or FedEx Field, if you will, were always packed to capacity. That's not true. I can tell you when FedEx Field is usually full of fans. That's when they play the Giants, the Dirty Birdies of Philly, and the Dallas Cowboys. Other than that, nowhere near full like they used to be. So when you see those cameras pan over the fans, keep in mind they're only showing you a portion of that. And when they have their games against Dallas, and actually Philly, if you want to be real about it, you see a lot of Cowboy jerseys in those stands, and you see a lot of Philly jerseys in those stands, because you already have a large population here in DC that are Cowboys fans. And Philly and the Giants, you're talking about Philadelphia and New York, that's what, 3-4 hour drive, if that long. They're coming here. So keep that in mind. Those are little tricks that the media. And D. Shep says, yeah, Vegas has unlimited space, but they chose to build it in one of the most highly populated areas right across the highway from the Strip. Wow. Wow. You see how people, how politics, I'll say, and politics just isn't in the area of voting, but you have politics in sports and gaming, period. Gambling, and a lot of people do, and you see that now online. That's big business, but that's another conversation for another time. This was my first of many picks. Thank you again to everybody that showed up and showed out. And as I said, I may be back after 4, after the first 15 minutes, and depending upon how my stomach feels, and if there are no injuries or sacks, I'll be back to talk some real poo-poo. But if I don't return, and if I go MIA the rest of the day, perhaps the entire week, you'll know why. Yes, soul, 90s, R&B hits. I am a huge Cowboys fan. I was actually supposed to be Dak's backup, but unfortunately, Jerry said that even though he was impressed by the muscle tone in my calves, I'm still not there yet. So I'm trying. I'm really, really trying. And D. Shep says, I look forward to the next show. Thank you for your time. You are welcome, and thank you. And yes, soul, I am. Soul, 90s R&B hits. Stop laughing at me, D. Shep. You know what? Let me go, because Nightbot might kick all of you out, and I don't want that to happen. So, everyone, thank you again, and enjoy. And good luck to all of you and your, oh God, all of your teams. I hope that all of you are winners. Despite if you lose, you're still a winner inside, to be honest. Soul 90s R&B says really quickly, Jerry was never too good at evaluating talent. Stick with your plan. Oh, okay. And I guess Soul 90s R&B told me and told you too. Everyone, again, enjoy and be safe, be well, be out there. Bye-bye for now.